All right, man. I trimmed my beard way too short, and it looks real bad. And I'm going to see it on camera for the first time when I go to edit this, or not edit it, but just put the footage together with the audio. And I'm going to hate it, so that's good. Try not to go too hard on me in the comment section. Maybe it actually doesn't look that bad on camera. I guess I'll find out. But hello, everybody. Welcome to Also Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Drop a like on the video as well. Today, some more NBA games. That's the whole point of this thing. So I watched Pelicans versus Lakers, like 15 minutes max of Magic versus Nuggets, Blazers versus Nets, and then I tuned in and out of Warriors versus Sixers. So I'm not sure what I'm going to title this video. It might be about James Harden for MVP, or it might be about the Lakers and how they're faring without LeBron. I'm probably going to make it the Harden one just because that's probably going to get more clicks. That's how YouTube works. But to start, I really wanted to talk about Pelicans versus Lakers because I was really interested to see how the Lakers would do without LeBron and AD. And I made a whole video like speculating on this topic where I was just basically rambling for like 12 minutes. And I was curious what they'd look like without him. And I think someone who doesn't watch this game and goes and looks at the box score is going to immediately take away that this was just a terrible game for the Lakers. Like they lost by 17 to the Pelicans, who are not a good team. But they were down by like 30 plus at some points in this game, and there was a push late game to get back into this one. And I'd say overall what was the important thing that was noteworthy here was that the Lakers put up a fight. It wasn't like, oh, we're just going to roll over and die. Like, they made pushes to get back into the game, and while it might not have worked, it was admirable. Now, I have to mention what I was looking for particularly in this game was the engine of the Lakers. Like, what does this team look like as a core? What are the patterns? Not so much like, oh, is this player hitting shots? Is this player not hitting shots? Like Dennis Schroeder not making shots today. There was some poor efficiency from KCP, but I wasn't really that interested in that. I was like, are they generating good looks? Do they look like they have some sort of system? And not really. That was what's more concerning than anything else. Now, I was happy about the fact that they were putting up a fight. That's admirable, and it could potentially lead to some wins against even not that great teams. But it looked out there like they were, like when they were passing the ball around and stuff, it's like they were looking at each other like, are you going to do something? Because I'm not going to do anything. Like, you do it. You figure it out. Like, there was no hierarchy. There was no clear, this is what we're doing. It's like they never played together before. It was like it was a pickup game at the YMCA, and then you don't really know what your team is. And there's some players who want to take over, some players who don't want to step on any toes. And it was just awkward. Kuzma was definitely, as well as Markieff Morris, were a bit of the ones that are more on the side of like wanting to take over. And to his credit, Kyle Kuzma played well. He almost had a triple-double, actually, 16, 10, and 7 assists. I wouldn't be shocked if that was a career high in assists for him. But that was the Lakers side of things. I'm going to be checking on them more. I'm actually probably going to watch more Lakers games without LeBron than with them, just because I'm really interested in what that ends up being. But yeah, that's the thing for them. Also, like the whole engine thing, like I've made this comparison or metaphor with LeBron before and his teams. Basically, LeBron teams are built with him as the engine, and when he is removed from that situation, your car is not going to work without its engine. So, not all that shocking. Also, for the Pelican side of things, Brandon Ingram was incredible in this game. He had so many pull-up mid-range shots. Is just I love pull-up mid-range shots, so it's fun to watch. A player who could miss though was Eric Bledsoe. I wonder what he finished at. I know at one point he was 1 for 7. Okay, he finished 1 for 8. Good for him. Solid job, Eric. Eric is one of those players that I irrationally think is much worse than they probably are, but you can't convince me that they're actually good. Jackson Hayes, he played good in this game, and it seems like every game that I watch of the Pelicans, Jackson Hayes has a very good game, but then he also still plays like 15 minutes, so that's something. But yeah, that's not much noteworthy stuff for the Pelicans. Like I said, I watched a few minutes of Magic versus Nuggets, but I didn't have I didn't have much patience for it. Like the Magic went down big early, and it looks like by the box score at the end that it was only 11-point game. So I'm assuming the Magic made a bit of a run, but I didn't watch the game, so not going to bother putting much commentary on that one. And then as for Warriors versus Sixers, I watched the first quarter of this one. This is yet another game that I left. I had tweeted after like the first quarter of this game, like, the games today suck, and I'm hoping that Blazers versus Nets saves that, and it kind of did, so we'll talk about that in a second. But this was a game that was like, okay, that's great. They were down like 30-ish in the first quarter, and that was because they didn't have Steph. I turned off the game around like 8 or so minutes in, and like 3 minutes. It took me like 5 minutes to realize Steph wasn't playing, because sometimes you're just zoned out of shit sometimes, and I'm just like, wait a minute. I haven't seen Steph Curry yet. Wait a minute. The Warriors are not playing with Steph right now. I don't want to watch this. So I turned off the game to focus on Nets versus Blazers. But then lo and behold, I go on Twitter and I see Warriors fans tweeting that, holy shit, they're in this game. And I turn it on, and the Warriors actually have like 5-point lead or something like that about halfway through the third quarter. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll watch the game too, get some extra content out of it. But this was kind of a painful game to watch because the Warriors without Steph, their offense basically has no fluidity to it without Steph on it. And then the Sixers have never really been a fluid offense, period, and take Embiid away from that, and it makes it even worse. So it was like watching two awkward teams play against each other. Like Draymond Green can be a fluid offensive player in that his playmaking can lead to incredible offense, but when Steph's not there, it's kind of like it's not as valuable because the gravity of Steph makes his playmaking an extra step better. And when he's on the court with a bunch of okay players, or even just bad players in some cases, looking at you, Jordan Poole, that can result in it not looking as amazing. Now, I don't want to be too mean to Jordan Poole. He had a rough game. From what I can see from the discourse on Warriors Twitter, Jordan Poole is a controversial player. It seems like some want him to get more opportunity, some get annoyed by him. So I don't know. But this was a bad game from him. He threw a really bad pass late game that kind of gave this one away. As the Sixers did win this game, although they didn't do it in any less kind of annoying fashion. There was one play in the first quarter that kind of annoyed me where Ben Simmons had Kent Bazemore on him, and he passed it out to the perimeter. Like he was in prime post-up position. There was no other defender around him. Kent Bazemore's like 6'5". And Ben doesn't post him up. But then later in this fourth quarter, Ben posts up Kevon Looney, who is like a really big center. It's like, why post up Looney but not post up Bazemore? Ben really makes me scratch my head sometimes. But I don't have too many points outside of that. It was just not a very fun game to watch because neither team looked like they really knew what they were doing. Now it's worth mentioning, like before anyone yells at me, I didn't see the Warriors come back. I'm just saying from the point that I watched from about midway through the third to the end, it was just awkward. So Blazers versus Nets. Couple of notes here that are not like really all that relevant. Blake wearing number 2 with Kyrie on the team bothers me for some reason. I know that Kyrie has some special meaning to number 11, which is why he wears it. I think it has something to do with his dad, but I don't actually know the details of it. But it's still annoying. Like I'm still like, that's Kyrie Irving's number, and he's on the Nets. But yeah, Blake actually had a much better game than his first one, even though he did dunk in his first one. He had one play where he played great defense on Dame on a switch and then got an outlet pass from James Harden, hit a corner three-pointer. I'm wondering, did he do anything else? He got a free throw, and he had another shot go in that I guess I missed. But also Jeff Green, got to point him out. I tweeted earlier during this game, like, this is a great day for Jeff Green propaganda. I've been talking about it a million times over. Like, I basically suggested every contender sign Jeff Green, and the Nets were the team to do it, and it's worked out. He had 20 and 10 in this one. So, Jeff fucking Green, man. He had 20 and 4. I was looking at DeAndre Jordan's rebounds, my bad. Shout out Jeff Green. The Blazers side of things, before I talk about James Harden, they ran one lineup that was interesting, which was like an ultra spacing lineup, which was Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Gary Trent, Rodney Hood, and then Carmelo Anthony at center. Although Rodney Hood apparently really bad from three this year, and just in general, I hadn't noticed it was that bad. I knew he was having a down-ish year, but if you look at his splits, it's like, my God. I mean, he had an Achilles injury, so it's understandable, but I didn't realize it was that bad. But still, that lineup was like, there's no defense in that lineup whatsoever, but that is a lot of floor spacing. So, and I don't know what the numbers were on it, but it seemed like a positive lineup to me. Also, speaking of spacing, Robert Covington. So he was 5 for 6 from 3 when I made a tweet. 4 for 6, or no, 4 for 5. Okay, he was 4 for 5 when I made a tweet that was Robert Covington has found his shot. 44% from 3 over the last 17 games, and he was 30% from 3 previous. I was talking about in Blazers videos post games in the past that his 3 was like not working this year for the Blazers. He's starting to make them. But right after I tweet this, he has a wide open 3 to tie the game with like 30 seconds left, and he bricks it. And he also bricks a free throw after that. So I cursed Robert Covington and the Blazers with that tweet. So that was unfortunate. But other than that, nothing else really on the Blazer side. Also, they still aren't running the CJ, Gary, and Dame lineup as much as I want them to. I honestly think that should be their starting lineup, but not happening. It is more. They did do it more this time, but really that's just because CJ is fully like off of a minutes restriction at this point. So not like that was a huge revolutionary thing. I just want to see more of that lineup, and I know Blazers fans continue to be frustrated on Twitter. Some guy was bitching about how many threes Derrick Jones Jr. takes. Terry Stotts is like, I don't know that there's any one thing that he is standout bad at over anything else, but he's just not good. That's very clear, and yet he has still managed to be, I believe, one of the longest tenured head coaches in the league. So now let's talk about James Harden. 17 assists in this one. He was not making his threes in this game, but he was fine from everywhere else. Actually, shit. Wow. he was 7 for 24. I didn't realize it was like that. Wow. I thought he was doing fine. He had a nice Euro step layup. He had a floater. Wow, sometimes you see shit in the game and you think they're doing fine, but then you look at the box score, it's like, wow, either that guy is doing better than I thought or he's doing worse than I thought. I knew he wasn't making any jump shots, but wow. I might not title this video about James Harden MVP now. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that now. Like, holy shit, I didn't realize it was that bad. Man, okay, but away from the scoring, because clearly I misread that one from watching the game. I also have to mention Nicholas Claxton, because he's been really good for the Nets. He might be their savior, at least defensively, against teams that don't have dominant big man, because there's no way in hell he's doing anything to Joel Embiid, but he was really good in this one. But James Harden, 17 assists, and what were his turnovers? He had 4 turnovers, which is very good assist-turnover ratio. Is he like not more of a pass first player than a shoot first player at this point? At least what he has been in Brooklyn, like especially when Kyrie and Kevin Durant are there. Like I think he is. And you know what? I know exactly how to spin the title of this video. I'm gonna like the scary thing about the Nets. Something I tweeted earlier was like we've barely actually seen the big 3 together. We've seen a lot of Harden and Kyrie, a little bit of just Kyrie, a lot of bit of just Harden, but we haven't actually seen the 3 together all that much because Kevin Durant has been out with injury. So what's scary is the Nets remain a good basketball team despite injury. So assuming they don't have any issues fitting together once they're all solidly established playing a lot, that team, man, like this is why I'm like hesitant to say confidently anything about the Nets, even with their defense being suspect at times. Like that's just so much talent, man. It's just so much. Like how do you like dismiss that team? You can't. Like if you're dismissing the Nets like, oh yeah, they have no chance. Like if you think the Nets can't win a championship where they're at right now, it's like, do you know how talent, how much of the NBA is dictated by talent. That's all I got to say. So that's the title of this video, the scary thing about the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, that's a really good at branding I am. I didn't realize that James Harden was 7 for 24. I knew he was not making the threes, but damn. But, still a good game from him. He more than recovered with the 17 assists. And also the role players turned up for this one. Timothy Luwawu Cabaret or Cabarro, I don't know which one it is. He also played well. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I got to say about the Nets and James Harden. I'll put is Harden MVP in a game where he doesn't shoot 7 for 24. But still 17 assists is still a good game. Damn, I was really blindsided by that. All right, that's it. Bye.